You probably think your money decisions are logical. You earn money, you spend it, you save a little when you can, you make choices based on what makes sense in the moment. At least, that's what it feels like. But here's something most people never stop to consider. A huge portion of your financial behavior was programmed long before you ever earned your first paycheck, long before you understood interest rates, budgets, or investments. It started when you were a child, quietly watching how money worked in your home, not what you were told about money, what you observed. Because children don't learn money from lectures, they learn it from patterns, emotions, and stress. And those early lessons don't disappear when you grow up. They just get better at hiding. My name is Linda, and I spend way too much time thinking about how childhood quietly controls your financial decisions. If you want to understand why money feels harder than it should, make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you see things differently. Let's start with something uncomfortable but important. Most people believe their financial struggles are caused by bad habits they picked up as adults: overspending, not saving enough, procrastinating, making impulsive choices. But habits are rarely the root. They're usually symptoms. The root lives much deeper. Think back to your childhood home, not the details, the atmosphere. Was money something that caused tension? Was it talked about openly or avoided completely? Did arguments happen around bills? Did you hear phrases like, "we can't afford that," or "money doesn't grow on trees," or "rich people are greedy"? Or maybe the opposite. Maybe money was never discussed at all. Bills were paid quietly, decisions were made behind closed doors. You were protected from the reality of it. Now here's the key insight. Your brain didn't just record what happened, it recorded how it felt. If money felt stressful, unpredictable, or shameful, your nervous system learned to associate money with danger. If money felt scarce, your brain learned to grab it when it appeared. If money felt taboo, your brain learned to avoid thinking about it. And those emotional associations don't fade with age. They follow you into adulthood and quietly influence every financial decision you make. Here's an example. Two people earn the exact same income. Same city, same expenses, same opportunities. One builds savings steadily and feels relatively calm about money. The other feels constant anxiety, even when nothing is technically wrong. The difference isn't intelligence, it's not discipline, it's emotional wiring. One grew up in an environment where money felt manageable. The other grew up where money felt threatening, so their brains respond differently to the same numbers. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but I'm an adult now. I make my own choices. That's true, but here's the part most people miss. Your conscious mind makes plans, your subconscious mind makes decisions, and your subconscious mind was trained early. Let's talk about scarcity, because this is one of the most powerful childhood money imprints. If you grew up in a home where money was tight, unpredictable, or constantly discussed with worry, your brain learned one core rule: money disappears. So when you earn money as an adult, your brain doesn't see opportunity, it sees urgency. Spend it before it's gone. Use it now, enjoy it now, protect yourself now. This is why some people struggle to save even when they want to. It's not that they don't understand the math, it's that saving feels unsafe at a subconscious level. Holding on to money triggers anxiety because deep down, they're waiting for something bad to happen. So spending becomes a form of emotional regulation, relief, not recklessness. On the other side, if you grew up in an environment where money was tightly controlled, tracked obsessively, or used as leverage, you may have learned a different rule: money equals control. So as an adult, you might feel intense anxiety around spending, even on things you can afford. You hesitate, you overthink, you delay, not because you're responsible, but because spending feels like losing safety. And here's the important part. Both patterns come from childhood. Both feel logical to the person experiencing them, and both can quietly sabotage long-term financial progress. Now let's talk about emotional spending, because this is often misunderstood. Most people think emotional spending means buying things you don't need, but that's not the full picture. Emotional spending is any spending decision driven by a desire to change how you feel: stress relief, comfort, validation, escape. And childhood plays a huge role here. If you grew up in an environment where emotions weren't discussed openly or where money was used to compensate for stress, neglect, or instability, your brain may have learned that money equals comfort. So as an adult, when life feels overwhelming, money becomes your coping mechanism. Not because you're weak, because it worked before. Your brain remembers patterns that reduced discomfort. Now let's look at avoidance, because this one is subtle but powerful. Some people avoid checking their bank account. They avoid budgets, they avoid planning, they avoid opening bills. They call it procrastination, but it's not laziness, it's emotional avoidance, often rooted in childhood experiences where money conversations led to conflict, shame, or punishment. So your nervous system learned that money equals emotional pain, and the safest option is to look away. The problem is avoidance doesn't remove the consequences, it just delays them, and delayed consequences tend to be louder and more stressful, which reinforces the original fear. This is how cycles repeat. Now let's talk about beliefs, because this is where childhood influence becomes almost invisible. Think about the phrases you heard growing up. People like us don't get rich. Money changes people. You have to work hard for every penny. Rich people are lucky or dishonest. You might not consciously agree with these statements, but if you absorbed them early, they still shape your expectations, and expectations shape behavior. If you subconsciously believe wealth is not meant for you, you'll self-sabotage opportunities without realizing it. You'll underprice yourself. You'll avoid growth. You'll stay in familiar discomfort instead of unfamiliar possibility. Not because you don't want more, but because more feels unsafe or undeserved. Here's another subtle one. If you grew up seeing your parents struggle despite working hard, your brain may have learned that effort doesn't lead to security. So why bother planning long term? Why trust systems? Why believe things will work out? This can lead to a focus on immediate gratification or a sense of financial hopelessness, even when opportunities exist. Again, not laziness, protection. Your brain is trying to prevent disappointment. Now here's the turning point. Understanding this isn't about blaming your parents. They did the best they could with what they knew, and it's not about staying stuck in the past. It's about recognizing the invisible forces shaping your present, because you can't change patterns you don't see. Here's the most important realization. Your money behavior makes sense in the context of your childhood. Once you see that, shame starts to dissolve, and when shame dissolves, change becomes possible. So what do you do with this awareness? First, you stop judging yourself. Your habits aren't moral failures, they're learned responses. Second, you start observing your reactions to money instead of fighting them. Notice when spending feels urgent. Notice when saving feels uncomfortable. Notice when avoidance kicks in. Those reactions are clues, not enemies. Third, you create systems that protect you from your own conditioning. Automation, clear rules, small, consistent actions. Not because you lack willpower, but because your brain is wired for survival, not spreadsheets. And finally, you rewrite the story slowly, not with affirmations, with evidence. Each time you save a small amount and nothing bad happens, your nervous system learns a new rule. Each time you plan ahead and feel more stable, your brain updates its expectations. This is how financial confidence is built, not overnight, but steadily. Here's the truth most people never hear. You are not bad with money. You are patterned, and patterns can be changed, but only after they're understood. Your childhood quietly controls your financial decisions until you shine a light on it. And once you do, you're no longer reacting, you're choosing. If this video helped you understand yourself better, hit the like button so more people can hear this message. Subscribe for more videos that explain the psychology behind money, not just the tactics. Because money isn't just about numbers, it's about the stories you learned before you even knew what money was. And once you understand those stories, you finally get to write a new one.